talking about today, it's time to take a look into the future and see what's coming up next. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the Mazda Shinari.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Mazda Shinari concept. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Design Director, Mazda Design Americas, Derek Jenkins.
Once again on Planet Vehicle, we are in LA. We are at the LA Auto Show at the LA Convention Center, and it's a lot of hot things going on. Just saw the launch so that everybody else can see it. Now, I've seen the pictures, but to see it live is totally different of the Mazda Shinari concept. And with me is Derek Jenkins. He is the person that put this whole thing together. Give us your exact title so we'll know how to. So we're going to put your little name and title right here. So yeah.
Derek Jenkins, and I'm the Director of Design for Mazda Americas.
So you're responsible for this, as my mother used to say. Are you behind this mess?
I'm guilty, yes.
So tell me about the concept, because of course, this is when you see it to fruition, but it has to come here first.
Yeah.
So how did this whole concept to what we see here start?
Yeah, you know, we really wanted to do a vehicle that would kind of represent the next big step for Mazda design. And we chose four-door coupe because it's very elegant, it's very lean, it's very sleek, and very sophisticated. Over the last year or so, working together with my management in Japan, specifically my boss Maeda-san, we've really been developing this new form language. The form language we call Kodo, which is really about this kind of expression of tension and power in the overall vehicle proportion. And that's kind of been in development over the last year or so. And we had the chance to do this concept, and it kind of went from there.
Now, when you do a concept for a car, there's a lot of elements that go into it I don't think people understand. Number one, it has to have a look, but at the same token, you're dealing with physics, so it could look good, but physically, when it comes to driving, handling, aerodynamics, it doesn't work. How do you merge those things so that it works congruently?
Right. Well, in this case, you know, we kind of studied where, like, our current sedan sits. We said, you know, to make this really a sporty four-door coupe, what would we have to do? Certain things are inevitable. You want a little bit bigger wheel, longer wheelbase, lower car, a little bit wider car. You know, those are the things you always kind of come in and do to, let's say, a normal sedan to get it to the next level. But I think also this car was really about concentrating on things like the face of the car. And you can see we've really taken the Mazda 5-point grille and evolved it. It's a lot sharper. It's a little bit more aggressive and a lot more confident. And even the eyes of the vehicle are a lot more focused. And then coming around the car, really concentrating on form language, surface quality, the interior of the car. There's a lot of development went in there. So it's kind of like a process. Usually it starts with proportion and moves on to the details, you know.
So as this thing starts to progress, do you find that you have to move this, change this? And does that make you feel more creative, or does it limit you as time goes on, as you go from concept to reality?
Yeah, I mean, usually it's an up and down process, because in the beginning, usually the designer will do this a sketch. Right. It's still, and we still use paper, we still sketch, but also in the computer. And everybody's like, that's a cool sketch. You know what I mean? And so that gets the energy. And then when you try to realize that in some sort of clay model, that's where the challenges start, you know? And then you're like, that doesn't look like the sketch. So you go through some trial and error in the clay model, get it looking like the sketch.
But one of the things that I've got to say, you know what I miss is the 929.
Oh, yeah?
I talked to Jim about it.
Yeah.
The president of Jim O'Sullivan, president of Mazda, and he was like, But what I like about this concept, it reminds me of the 929, because when the 929 came out, it was 92, 93. Right. And that concept, that look was just so revolutionary at that time. Yeah. And some of the things that you guys had.
I was in school when that car came out.
I'm not going to tell you where I was. But here's what I did. I remember certain things like having a solar-powered fan that would pull the heat out during the summertime, and just certain things like that. It also had heated seats, which was rare at that time. So you guys have always been cutting edge. And I noticed another thing, that you talk to the folks in Japan about here in North America. Now, for what you're doing here, can it translate back to Japan?
Yeah, I mean, we're a pretty tight global team, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of sharing going on. And fortunately, the technology allows us to share our work on a daily basis. So we have servers that connect, and we're looking at their work, they're looking at our work, and we're evolving the form language together. The challenges come is like, how do we make a crossover or a sedan work equally well in all markets around the world? That's very challenging.
Because of the global. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, and Europe has size parameters, and we have certain size ideals and so on. So that's a big challenge, but usually we're able to find a kind of good balance. But the nice thing about being in Mazda is we know what we're about. Right. We're about sporty cars, we're about innovation, great design, great driving. You know, we know we're that. There's no question if we're here or here, that's where we need to be. Right. So we're already on the same level in that regard.
And you still have the zoom element, which I like about it. So now, we see it here as a concept. How long before we can get it in the showroom? Because a guy just came up and he's from Canada. He's like, I could sell this car. You know, when people tell you they can sell a car, it's supply and demand. So you're going to have to supply, because it looks like he's demanding it. So how soon before we can see this in the showroom?
Well, it's the $1 million question, you know. So, and you had to ask. And
so if I give you $2 million,
yeah, let's go talk. You know, I think really, first of all, you know, you might be familiar with a lot of our concept cars. They're always very exciting and very dynamic. With this particular car, we're very conscious to do a concept that we could really translate to production.
Into fruition, yeah.
Whether it's on our next crossover vehicle or our next mid-size sedan, or even translating this particular concept into production. So I can tell you that what you see here today is very realistic and very viable for production. Whether or not this exact car is going to go into production is pure speculation. Obviously, if it was up to you and me,
it'd be done.
It'd be done.
Which Jim, we just saw the president of Mazda.
And the guys that make the decisions are here, so
yeah, we'll go find them. Right. Hey, Derek, look, because it's interesting, because the whole time we've been talking, people have been taking pictures and everything.
Cool,
so
you know,
because everybody is hyped about the Shinari concept. Thanks a lot for coming on Planet Vehicle.
Thanks, man.
And we're going to get you back on when the car is actually in the showroom. Okay?
You got it.
We'll be back with more from Los Angeles. It is Planet Vehicle. I'm Alvin Jones. Do not go anywhere.